Good afternoon to my beautiful, beautiful queens. It is here in Florida 109 p.m. So I'm praying that your day was started with a breeze. Um, just just feeling alive and amazement and just just creating your day. Creating your day. That's for some of you. All is not peaches and creams every single day. For some of you, you woke up with obstacles in the way, stress, things on your mind. Um, you're not feeling your best. Probably like sometimes maybe you felt a little confused or which way to go or just trying to have a positive attitude, as far as whatever the universe has for you is coming, that you're already in it. You're already in it. That's for some of you. You're already in it. You're already in your new beginnings. You have already entered in your image. Now it's taking some time, a little time, for you to get used to the image. And the image is a reflection not only in the mirror, what you see, but the image is a reflection of what other people see as well. For some of you, the image may be changing rapidly and things are falling off. Old ways are falling off. Some things that you might have done in the past no longer serves you anymore. Or for some of you, the things you've done in the past, the different things you used to do, you don't do as much anymore. Because that time and energy that was mostly wasted on that, you could have been improving your image. And I'm seeing 11:11. When I speak, I always see signs and wonders, and I like to speak it out. I like to say what I see, what I feel, what I hear, what I smell. I like to say it out loud, so that way the universe can know, like spirit knows that I'm seeing these things, I'm experiencing these things, I'm calling these things. So when you do that more often, you start to look around and see. You don't even have to look around. It just comes to you. 11:11. It just comes to you. I want to get into a topic today in this retreat session. I want to get into a topic with my queens. And the topic is a self-image in the image of God. Now, I'm going to tell you one more time. I'm not even going to tell you one more time, maybe many times. This is not a normal retreat session. This is not a normal class. This is not a normal program. I'm going to show you what I see in the spirit. And to get here at this certain level of consciousness, as well as subconsciousness, being able to balance it out, you have to learn how to be still and wait. Be still and wait. And I know, I'm a testimony. I know sometimes it's hard to do due to what's going on in the environment. Some things happen, some things that trigger you, some things that you feel you need as survival, people around you. Wait and be still. Because the longer you can wait and be still and quiet, the longer you can train yourself and strengthen yourself, having spiritual strength in that, the sooner the visions hit, the sooner comes the knowledge and wisdom. The sooner comes the people that are meant to be, that you're calling into your life. The sooner comes your wishes that are fulfilled and granted. The sooner it comes when you wait. Be patient and be still. This is how the universe works. And the reason why things come corrupted, or with a tidal wave, or with the thunderstorm, or with the drowning, or with the overwhelming sense of confusion, is because you did not wait. Someone's calling, I'm not sure who that is. But I'm going to stay in the spirit. No distractions. It could be signs and wonders, but no distractions. And when you wait, you will know the difference between a distraction versus a sign, the signs and wonders. You will know. Because you will be pulled and your urge will be there to lead you to where you need to go. If you're not sure, you wait. Today I got out of the bed this morning. And I'm truthful. I'm authentic. This is a part of the program. And I'm doing baby steps. I'm doing like small steps. I'm not only teaching you, but I'm teaching myself as well. And when I get the knowledge and the downloads and the wisdom, and the wisdom by it, I share it through my story. Because I want you to see how our paths are so much alike. I woke up this morning in a confusing state. I woke up this morning in my ego. I woke up this morning by some things that confuse me. That I'm not sure if it's the truth or not. So because of this, I'm learning with my energy. Sometimes it don't take to go in another room. Sometimes it don't take to come into my office. Sometimes not even outside, walking in nature. My energy source comes from water. I'm a Scorpio, and for those that may be a water sign, listen. But my source is water, either drinking water, bathing in water, showering in water, hearing water, anything surrounded by water. It powers me, it energizes me, it recharges me. And as I sit still by the water, it gives me a sense of peace. a sense of serenity, a sense of calming, a sense of stillness. And as I watch the waves, either smooth or with a ripple, it gives me a calmness to see the beauty that is all connected around us by the water. And as I was looking at the water, I was doing my meditation. And the first thing came out was healing. Healing. And as I thought this as my anchor, as an anchor, and every time I float back to my ego or my past or get confused or stressed, I picture this anchor, this strong anchor of healing. Everyone has an anchor, a trigger, an anchor that gives them positive thoughts and positive feelings, and it's like a trigger word. What is your trigger word? Mine is healing. What is yours? Everybody does not have the same word. What is your anchor? What is your trigger? What makes you positive? Want that one word? So because mine is healing, I'm looking at the vision of healing others. But first, I'm going to have to heal myself. Because doing this healing of myself, I'm able to show and be transparent with others. So that way my healing can pass on to them. The energy. So as I was sitting there and seeing healing, I got out my mighty book that my grandmother gave to me, Women's Devotional Bible. And she gave this to me on November the 15th, 1995, on my 18th birthday. 1 plus 8 equals 9. And it took me to not only Genesis 2, but it's Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. The foundation. And Moses writes Genesis, a book of beginnings, to tell us how God creates the world, how sin comes into the world, and how God loves mankind in spite of his sin. He reports exciting stories about Adam and Noah and Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. How God cares for them and stands beside them, no matter what they do. As you read this book, think about how God enters into a personal relationship with you, cares for you, and wants you to make serving him a priority in your life. That's the first thing I seen. That's the first thing that was shown to me. And as I opened the page, it said Monday. Today is Monday. So as I seen Monday, distractions. As I see Monday, I'm like, okay, this is for me to read. And as I was reading, it said a self-image in the image of God. And what I read was powerful. God created man male and female, in his own image. What an awesome reality that is. There I am in the first chapter of the Bible, a woman. Distinguished from animals, distinguished from my male counterparts, and literally created in the image of God. How beautiful. Certainly, womanhood was no afterthought with God, and it was through the creation of both male and female that God has offered his fullest self-revelation. If somehow in our imagination we're able to recreate all the qualities of perfect man and perfect woman in one being, we have perhaps a faint hint of who God really is. And as we reflect on who God is, we see a picture of the image we carry in ourselves individually. Unfortunately, that image of God often bears virtually no resemblance to our own self-image. The reason for that, according to many Christian counselors, is because many of us suffer from a low self-image. But how can our self-image be low when we contemplate the image of God in which we were created? Personally, I find that my self-esteem is lowest when I'm at least reflecting the image of God. Indeed, my self-esteem has very little awards, promotions. I'm getting ahead, excuse me. What you want me to see? Ego boosting, I'm seeing ego boosting. Indeed, my self-esteem has very little to do with the ego boosting gratification that comes with awards, promotions, bonuses, and new clothes. Ego boosting. These are the temporary uppers of the me generation. But they are not what builds a healthy self-image. I feel best about myself, not when I read a flattering review of one of my books or when I'm wearing a new outfit, but when I have selflessly reached out to someone in need and given with no thought of reward or of self. It is only when myself is submerged that God's image begins to shine forth. Then I have a healthy self-image that truly reflects God's image. Think about that. Even if you have to go back into this video 2 or 3 times, it's a message. It may be a word that triggers you, or a message, or just let your thoughts wander while you hear my voice when I read that. Is something going to come out in that image? In that message, and the signs and wonders. But the main thing that came out highlighted was the ego boosting. And then as I sat there and meditated on those words, it took me to the book, chapter 3. And it's funny because this message was on the 3rd page. The 3rd page. And as I look, it says chapter 3 in another book of messages. You see the path, when you follow the path of spirit and you wait, it leads you to one place, to the next place, to the next place. Patterns. And it talked about chapter 3, number 3, the core of ego. Wow, ego. Wow. Most people are so completely identified with a voice in their head. The excessive stream of involuntary and compulsive thinking and the emotions that accompany it, that we may describe them as being possessed by their mind. The video froze, but just listen to my voice. As long as you are completely unaware of this, you take the thinker to be who you are. This is the egoic mind. We call it egoic because there is a sense of self, of I, ego, in every thought, every memory, every interpretation, opinion, viewpoint, reaction, and emotion. This is unconsciousness, spiritually speaking. Your thinking, the content of your mind, is of course conditioned by the past, your upbringing, culture, family background, and so on. The central core of all your mind activity consists of certain repetitive and persistent thoughts, emotions, and reactive patterns that you identify with more strongly. This entity is the ego itself. In most cases, when you say I, it is the ego speaking, not you, as we have seen. It consists of thought and emotions of a bundle of memories you identify with as me, and my story. Of habitual roles you play without knowing it. Of collective identifications such as nationality, religion, race, social class, or political allegiance. It also contains personal identifications, not only with possessions, but also with opinions, external appearance, long-standing resentments, or concepts of yourself as better than or not as good as others, as a success or failure. The content of the ego varies from person to person, but in every ego, the same structure operates. In other words, egos only differ on the surface. Deep down, they are all the same. In what way are they the same? They live on identification and separation. When you live through the mind-made self-compromise of thought and emotion, that is the ego. The basis for your destiny is precarious because thought and emotion are by their very nature ephemeral, fleeting. So every ego is continuously struggling for survival, trying to protect and enlarge itself. To uphold the I thought, it needs the opposite thought of the other. The conceptual I cannot survive without the conceptual other. The others are most other when I see them as my enemies. At one end of the scale of this unconscious egoic pattern lies the egoic compulsive habit of fault finding and complaining about others. Jesus referred to it when he said, "Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye. At the other end of the scale, there is a physical violence between individuals and warfare between nations. In the Bible, Jesus' question remains unanswered. But the answer is, of course, because when I criticize or condemn another, it makes me feel bigger or superior. And then it took me into complaining and resentment. Complaining is one of the ego's favorite strategies for strengthening itself. Every complaint is a little story in the mind, mixed up that you completely believe in. It's a story in your mind that you make up that you completely believe in. Whether you complain out loud or only in thought makes no difference. Some egos that perhaps don't have much else to identify with easily survive on complaining alone. When you are in the grip of such an ego, complaining, especially about other people, is habitual and, of course, unconscious. Which means you don't know what you are doing. Applying negative mental labels to people, either to their face or more commonly when you speak about them to others or even just think about them, is often part of this pattern. Name calling is the crudest form of such labeling of the egos. And it's the ego's need to be right and triumph over others. Jerk, bastard, bitch. All definitive pronouncements that you can't argue with. You can't. On the next level down on the scale of unconsciousness, you have shouting and screaming and not much below the belt, just physical violence. Resentment is the emotion that goes with complaining and the mental labeling of people and adds even more energy to the ego. Resentment means to feel bitter, indignant, aggrieved, or offended. You resent other people's greed, their dishonesty, their lack of integrity, what they are doing, what they did in the past, what they said, what they failed to do, what they should or shouldn't have done. The ego loves it. Instead of overlooking unconsciousness in others, you make it into their identity. Who is doing that? The unconsciousness in you, the ego. Sometimes the fault that you perceive in another isn't even there. It is a total misinterpretation, a projection by a mind conditioned to see enemies and to make itself right or superior. At other times the fault may be there. But by focusing on it, sometimes the exclusion of everything else, you amplify it. And what you react to in another, you strengthen in yourself. Non-reaction to the ego in others is one of the most effective ways, not only of going beyond ego in yourself, but also of dissolving the collective human ego. But you can only be in a state of non-reaction if you can recognize someone's behavior as coming from the ego, as being an expression of the collective human dysfunction. When you realize it's not personal, there is no longer a compulsion to react as if it were. By not reacting to the ego, you will often be able to bring out the sanity in others, which is the unconditioned consciousness as opposed to the conditioned. At times, you may have to take practical steps to protect yourself from deeply unconscious people. This you can do without making them into enemies. Your greatest protection, however, is being conscious. Somebody becomes an enemy if you personalize the unconsciousness that is the ego. Non-reaction is not weakness, but strength. Another word for non-reaction is forgiveness. To forgive is to overlook, or rather to look through. You look through the ego to the sanity that is in every human being as his or her essence. The ego loves to complain and feel resentful, not only about other people, but also about situations. What you can do to a person, you can also do to a situation. Make it into an enemy. The implication is always, this should not have been happening. This should not have been happening. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. I'm being treated unfairly. And the ego's greatest enemy of all is, of course, the present moment, which is to say, life itself. Complaining is not to be confused with informing someone of a mistake or a deficiency so that it can be put right. And to refrain from complaining doesn't necessarily mean putting up with bad quality or behavior. There is no ego in telling the waiter that your soup is cold and needs to be heated up if you stick to the facts, which are always neutral. How dare you serve me cold soup? That's complaining. There is a me here that loves to feel personally offended by the cold soup and is going to make the most of it. A me that enjoys making someone wrong. The complaining we are talking about is in the service of the ego, not of change. Sometimes it becomes obvious that the ego doesn't really want to change, so that it can go on complaining. See if you can catch, that is to say, notice the voice in the head. Perhaps in the very moment it complains about something and recognize it for what it is, the voice of the ego. No more than a conditioned mind pattern, a thought. Whenever you notice that voice, you will also realize that you are not the voice, but the one who is aware of it. In fact, you are the awareness that is aware of the voice. In the background, there is the awareness. In the foreground, there is the voice, the thinker. In this way, you are becoming free of the ego, free of the unobserved mind. The moment you become aware of the ego in you, it is strictly speaking no longer the ego, but just an old conditioned mind pattern. Ego implies unawareness. Awareness and ego cannot coexist. The old mind pattern or mental habit may still survive and reoccur for a while because it has the momentum of thousands of years of collective human unconsciousness behind it. But every time it is recognized, it is weakened. Ego. So I wanted to talk to my queens today. Maybe some kings listening as well. Ego. So this week, we're going to be working through the ego as well as what you are creating. So the next video that I have on my group page will be creating some things, manifesting some things, showing you some things, you being involved in some things, unexpected blessings that will be coming your way. You're already in it. It's growing in the background. It's a flower that's already blooming. It's not ready to be picked because it still needs the nutrients, the vitamins, the sunlight, the love and care in order for it to be picked individually. So welcome to the Earth Angel Retreat session. Listen to this video as many times as you can put in your spirit this week. Listen to the video as many times as you can put it in your spirit for this week. For the next 5 days, read Genesis 1 and 2. For the next 5 days, listen to this video. And what visions do you see? What do you get out the words the messages that I'm speaking? Do you feel you're being led by ego? Is it hard to let that go and be still and wait for what the universe has next for you? We're about to work on that, my love. It'll come easier and easier and easier because the universe is going to let you see not only you, but recognize ego in others. No judgment, no blame. It's just the ego, the voice of the ego. Recognize it. Understand it without judgment or blame. And be still. And let the universe, the angels, lead you on your path, on the right path. Let go of your mind so that the angels can fill you in with the messages, can show you the signs and wonders of things in your life, so that way you can see clearly, not only by your natural eye, but your spiritual eye. I will see you soon, my loves. God bless.